Just a second ago, Peter was there, right in front of Logan. Seeing something so dangerous as to potentially be anywhere in the room with him was starting to make even Logan nervous. He no longer had any sticky light balls to shoot out, and his suit only produced enough light for him to be able to see a few meters in front of him. Peter could see as clear as day down here. They were unfavorable odds, and Logan started to curse himself, thinking about how he ever got himself into this type of situation. A sharp, sudden sound was heard to his right, and a blast was shot from his blaster in an instant. "I don't want to hurt you, Peter. Suppose I hit you now before you've eaten anything. There's a good chance you can't heal," Logan said calmly. His voice was full of confidence, but inside his mind he was panicking a little. As he said those words, groans could be heard once again in a specific direction. When Logan looked at where they were coming from, he could see Peter knelt on the floor, holding his stomach. "Logan, just leave me! I don't think it's safe! Go now!" Peter shouted. The others thought the old Peter was completely gone, lost, but that wasn't true at all. Peter still had feelings, he still had worries, and inside he was still scared as always. Then the sound of footsteps was heard. Out of the tunnel, Logan appeared with a student on his back. He placed it on the floor and took a few steps back. "I know this might be disrespectful, but you are already dead. I promise I will find out who your family is and treat them well. They will live a life of happiness due to your help for as long as I am alive." The two boys continued to run through the town at breaking speed. On the way to the tower, they hadn't seen any high-level beasts. Quinn was now sure of it. With this thought in his head, he was able to freely run as fast as he could toward Peter. He was worried about what could happen, mostly since he was with the others, and worried about what would happen if the travelers were to find out and get involved. Following closely behind, Fex was struggling to keep up. Suddenly, Quinn stopped in his tracks. "What's wrong?" Fex asked. There were two reasons why Quinn had stopped. The first was that Quinn felt that Peter was no longer hungry. "Thank you, Logan," Quinn said under his breath. He didn't know why, but he had a hunch that if anyone could solve the problem, it would have been him. The second reason for stopping was that Quinn could sense and smell a familiar presence. "Ah, it's the teacher," Fex said and pointed. Leo said, "I'm here to search for the remaining students. Your friends who were with you have already been escorted outside to the surface." "Quickly!" Leo shouted. "We must get out of here and run! There is something down here, something incredibly powerful. I can sense its aura. We have to leave now." They both quickly followed Leo closely behind as the three of them ran out of the town and into the tunnel, not once looking back. But his strange actions made Quinn wonder. It was the first time that he saw his teacher running away from a confrontation. The tower they had just left was known as a vampire's tomb, and judging by the site of the building and what was left behind, it was a powerful one. "Didn't you say a vampire would need the blood of one of its family members? It can't wake up, right?" Quinn asked the system, but it had chosen to remain silent. "Answer me!" Quinn snapped in his mind. This time he was insistent and wanted an answer. "Sorry," the system replied. "I was just thinking about the possibilities. But perhaps there was a chance we did wake it up." "But how?" Quinn replied. "The only thing I can think of is the blood crystal. Remember how I said a blood crystal was quite rare? Well, that's because a blood crystal is harvested from a vampire's body itself. Just like how the beasts contain a crystal inside their bodies, vampires do too." "Why didn't you say something earlier then?" Quinn complained. "I thought the same as you at the time, that the crystal would help you get the weapon." The three of them had finally left the town. They had gone through one of the tunnels into an open area with several different pathways. It was easy for Leo to select the path back, as he remembered which direction he had entered from, and he led the two students out. Finally, they were about to leave the strange city and everything that had been found behind. While traveling through the tunnel, it started to slightly tilt upward with no end in sight, and they were unsure how long it would take them to get out. Finally, the end of the tunnel could be seen, and daylight was shining through. Both Quinn and Fex never thought they would be happy to see the sun, but they truly were. The two boys continued to follow Leo back through the forest. There were still many beasts in the forest, but thanks to Leo's ability, they were able to avoid all of them and select the safest path heading back to the shelter. Eventually, they arrived where all the remaining students were. They were staying in the shelter, in the large open space on the ground. The other military staff were taking care of them. "All right, everyone," a soldier shouted. "It's time to gather up. Your Sergeant Leo has an important announcement to make." Faye and him stood in front of them. After Leo had gone after Dell's class and it took longer than usual to return, Faye had decided to make the executive decision to call back all of the students to the shelter. Instead, to minimize the risk, the plan was to go as one large group, while both Faye and Leo would guide them. rather than split them up via their homeroom classes. They would cover less ground this way, and the expedition would be a lot slower, but it would also be safer this way. The first person to arrive was Leo, and behind him, all of the students started to follow. As the other group saw Dell's group, sounds of gasps and words of concern were heard. "What happened to them?" Faye asked. "It looks like they went off trail due to an advanced tier beast," Leo explained. A look of horror appeared on Faye's face as their fears were confirmed. "Don't worry, I already dealt with it before even meeting up with the class. As for the remaining students, according to the teacher, Dell, they were all eaten, and there was no chance the students survived." The two of them looked over at where Dell was. He was currently barging his way through the injured students and going to the front of the queue. As Leo took another step forward, he suddenly stopped. Before anyone else, he could hear the sound of the leaves ruffling from behind. "Looks like we finally made it," Andy said as he appeared out of the forest. The group of travelers had arrived, but they weren't alone. They also brought back Vorden, Sia, Layla, Peter, and Logan. Inside the tunnels, Logan had managed to regroup quickly with the travelers once his scanner was working. After the travelers and students had walked out of the trees and vines, what followed next started to cause alarm in the camp. The large lion-like beast came out as well. "Beast! Beast!" students shouted as they recognized the beast as a powerful-looking one, perhaps at the advanced level. "Calm down," one of the commanders who was looking after the students shouted. "That beast will do us no harm. It belongs to the Bree family." After hearing that name, the students quickly began to calm down. Seeing the stripes on both Faye and Leo's sides, Andre knew straight away that they were the highest commanding officers in this shelter. He approached the two of them and saluted at them out of respect. Faye did the same back, but Leo had chosen not to do anything. "Leo, I know you can't see, but this is someone from the Bree family, and they just saluted you," Faye whispered. "Anyway, I believe these students are yours," Andre said as he opened up his palm, telling the students to go over to the other side. Sia had the biggest smile on her face as she ran forward toward the shelter and the other students, while the others decided to remain, hoping to hear the conversation between these two powerhouses. "Thank you," Leo replied. "Would you mind telling me where you found them? Perhaps I will be able to search for others in the same area." "You have done enough, so there is no need for you to go out of your way," Leo said. "There is something we must inform you about," Andy said as he stepped forward and handed over a scanner to Faye. They revealed information that they had kept secret from the military, the fact that they had discovered an underground town. Not only that, but it seemed like it was made from a Dalkey structure. "Leo, both Quinn and Fex, they're still down there," Vorden said. Logan then handed over the altered scanner he had created to Faye as well. It displayed the information he had found. I can't believe you were hiding this from us. Do you know that if you had given this information to us beforehand, the students would never have been sent to a planet like this in the first place?" Before she even knew it, her fist was already flying toward Andy's face. At the same time, she felt a slash going towards her arm. Images of her arm being sliced off were seen. Quickly pulling it back, she looked at her hand and could see it was still intact. Vorden and the others were prepared for a clash between the travelers and the sergeants. They were ready to help Leo wherever they could. Other than helping them find an exit, the travelers hadn't helped them much. In the end, Quinn was the one who killed the beast. Also, they still remembered how much in debt they were to Leo for saving them from the Dalkey. Every one of the students, including the other soldiers, silently watched from the sideline. They were too afraid to get involved. If they did, it could cause trouble, due to the relations one of the Big Four had with the military.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.